Hello everybody, thank you for clicking on my channel. I am Peter the Book Lover. I have a YouTube channel to where I talk about books and movies, and I have a great time doing it. Hopefully you'll have a good time with me. And in this video I'm going to talk about this book right here. This is I Survived the American Revolution 1776, and this is written by Lauren Tarshish. And this is a really good one. I really enjoyed this a lot. But before I get into the book, I want to thank you for being here. If you like the video, please hit the like button. That would help me out a lot. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you can, let me know what you're reading. I'm interested to find out if you're reading something that I'm familiar with. I'd love to talk to you about that. So, this is I Survived the American Revolution 1776. See, right now I'm doing, this is book number 27 that I've read for a Read What You Own challenge. This is to where I'm aiming to read 100 books from my collection before I buy more books. You know, this is a really good challenge because it's helping me read a lot of the books that are on my shelf so they don't just collect dust. I want to actually read them. And I think it's a really good challenge and I'm enjoying doing it. Most of the books I've read for this challenge, I really enjoyed a lot. And this is number 27, and I really like this. Now, I have a collection of the same books, so I'm going to be reading more of these books now that I've read the first one, and I really enjoyed it. But let me go into what this book is kind of about. This is about an 11-year-old boy, and it starts off in Brooklyn, New York. And there's like 3 pages of where it describes this young man. This is Nathaniel Fox. In the book, they call him Nate, but Nathaniel Fox is being chased by a soldier, and he's running away, and then it stops, right? It's just stops in the middle of the action, and then it goes to Connecticut, July 11th. So it started in August 29th, and now you're back a week after they signed the Declaration of Independence. Now, Nathaniel, you find out that he actually is an orphan, and he had a mother that died of smallpox. You find that out later in the story. But in the beginning, he's spent some time at sea with his father, and his father was a sailor, and there was a big storm and his father got knocked overboard and he was never seen again. So now he's an orphan and now he's living on his uncle's farm in Connecticut. His uncle Starch, I think is how you pronounce his name. Uncle Starch is a person that's pro-England. He'd much rather be ruled by England than be an independent citizen. So he's very pro-England, and he has a couple of slaves. And Nathaniel really likes the slaves a lot more than his uncle. He actually loves the slaves because he's not racist, and you know he actually sees them as equal as himself. And so he's on this farm, and you meet one slave, the mother. Her name is Eliza, and it turns out that her husband actually got sold a little bit earlier. And she has a son named Theo. And Theo is one day playing around with Nathaniel, and he goes up behind him and kind of stabs him with a stick, playing like he's a pirate. And Nathaniel really likes it, and they're playing around. But Nathaniel really has to get back to work, so he goes back to work. And Theo is playing with a stick, and he's kind of spinning around. And by coincidence, Uncle Starch is walks out the house, and he doesn't see little Theo spinning around, and Theo lets go of the stick, and it hits Stark in the head and knocks him out. Now Nathaniel sees this, and he says, you know what, I'm going to take the blame for this. He makes a very quick decision saying that he's going to take the blame for this because he doesn't want Theo to get sold. So when his uncle wakes up, you know, he's wondering what happened, and then Nathaniel claims that he hit him with the stick by accident. And this really makes Uncle Starch really, really angry, and he starts trying to strangle Nathaniel. So Nathaniel fights, breaks free, and then takes off. And he's wondering what to do, so he decides to go to New York and try to get a job working on ships and stuff because he has experience at sea. So he stows away on a boat, goes to New York, and when he gets there, he's really surprised that the commerce isn't really booming like it was the last time he came there. And that is because it's the beginning of the American Revolution. And he actually looks out at sea. Instead of seeing a bunch of commerce boats, he sees these two big warships from England with cannons sticking out and everything. And it describes a little bit about the boats. And he sees these. So he sees that he can't find work. So he decides that he's going to just go back and deal with his uncle. But he has trouble getting back. So he's stuck in New York for a little while. And he runs into a friend that he knew from his sailing days named Paul. And Paul is now a Revolutionary War soldier. And Paul talks Nathaniel into joining up with the army. Now, Nathaniel is 11 years old, so he's not old enough to be a soldier. You've got to be 14 years or older to be a soldier. But at the same time, for shelter, he takes a job as being an aide to the soldiers, bringing them ammunition, bringing them drinks, water and stuff, bringing them food from time to time, cleaning up and doing a bunch of stuff like that. And as things progress, he actually starts spending some time. So the more things go on and the more soldiers that get lost, the more he spends time closer to the battlefield. And there's a couple of times that he actually sees some crazy things. He sees some bodies, laying there on the ground. He actually watches one of this person that he knows really well that gets killed right in front of him. And eventually, this story leads to Brooklyn. And there's this big battle in Brooklyn when it was still a forest. They really had to defend that from England. And he's there at Brooklyn. And a little bit earlier, you actually run into George Washington a couple times. And Nathaniel's really inspired and awed by George Washington because George Washington had a way to inspire the troops to want to fight. He was really good. When George Washington talked, everybody had a lot of passion to fight because George Washington was a great general. Now, George Washington wasn't a perfect general. He lost, but he knew how to lose because he'd lose battles and not do well in the battles, but he still had a spirit to where he didn't give up. He had this determined spirit, and it's really cool. So it goes into the Battle of Brooklyn, and there's a bunch of other things that happen, and it gets back to that opening 3 pages to where he's chased by a Haitian soldier, and there's a little bit more that happens after that. It's really interesting on how he escapes from this soldier and what he does afterwards. It's really interesting. I don't want to get into all the details of this book. But this was really excellent. Another interesting thing about this book is that at the end of the story, the author, Lauren Tarshish, talks about her research she did to put this book together. And that was really interesting in itself. And I really loved the way she talked about all the books she read to put this story together. And she actually said that she could actually write more books about this time period because there was a lot of interesting things going on. One thing that she was really shocked to find out when she was doing her research is that how many Americans were captured by the British soldiers and how they were treated after they were captured. Most of the people that were captured by the England soldiers wind up dying of starvation on the ships. And it was pretty crazy time period. And this book, I highly recommend it if you get your hand. I haven't read any other books in this series, but I have a feeling by reading this one, the other books are going to be fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to reading more books from this series. It's a really good series, and I highly recommend it. So the next book that I'm going to read is this one right here. This is I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916. And this is, I believe, the true story that inspired Peter Benchley to write the novel Jaws, which led to the movie Jaws, which is an excellent book. I mean, a lot of people that read Jaws before they seen the movie knew it was going to be good because it's an excellent book. It's one of my favorite books. I really love the book Jaws. And apparently this is the true story of a shark eating people in 1916. And I've read like the opening, and it opens the same way. It starts off with an action-packed part, and then it goes back to what led to that part, which is really interesting. I really like the author so far. This is going to be my second book that I've read by hers, but I actually have more books by her in this series. I have about 13 books, and I'm looking forward to reading this today, as a matter of fact, after I upload this video. So at the same time, I'm joined a book club. It's called Book Minded. I'm going to put a link in the description of the video that introduced me to this book club, and the person that's running it is Eaton A. Ash, and I'm really enjoying it. This is the first book that we're reading, Wuthering Heights. Now, the thing about this book that I'm going to suggest to you if you decide to pick up this book and read it is that, see, I've read this book about a year, maybe a half a year ago, a while ago, you know, at least probably a year ago, probably closer to a year than like a half a year ago. But I read this book just one time. And when I finished reading it, I said it back then that maybe this book I should read twice, but I was kind of making a plan of reading other books, so I didn't want to take the time to read it twice. Now I'm reading it again. I've read this whole thing once, and I agree with my past self that this is a book that should be read more than once. Not because it's a difficult subject matter, but placing everybody in where they're at the time period. There's a couple people to where you confuse them because they have the same names, and sometimes they're called by their last name and sometimes they're called by their first name, and you kind of confuse them because there's other family members, and it's a little bit confusing, but not it's not a difficult story to consume, but it's just a little bit confusing as you're reading this story, because it's narrated by this person, Mr. Lockwood, and there's two properties at the same time. There's Thrushcross Grange and there's Wuthering Heights. And another thing that you kind of confuse a little bit is trying to figure out where you're at. Are you at Thrushcross Grange or are you at Wuthering Heights? But it's not really complex writing, you know. It's not like very difficult writing. But I have a feeling if you want to read this book and truly enjoy it, read it the second time and you're going to enjoy it a lot more the first. And like I say, I'm like on chapter 4 and I could see that it's a little bit more clear the second time around. And I will say the same thing about Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. The first time I read that book, I really didn't think much of it, but I've read that book 3 times. I've watched a bunch of videos of how it's explained, and at the same time, I also watched a couple of 2 movies and a miniseries, and the miniseries is really good. It's like as close as you can get to the book. Although it's funny, it's a lot more accurate to the book, but it's still missing a couple things that was in the book. But some books are like that. Some books, you're not going to really get it until you read it the second time. Another book that's really easy to understand is I Am Legend. If you've ever read I Am Legend, it's a really easy story to read, and you're not going to be lost or anything. But there's something that you don't think about the first time you read it, and then when you read it again, there's something that happens at the end of the book that you see differently the second time. At least I saw it differently the second time. Yeah, some books, you shouldn't make a rule of never rereading a book, because sometimes rewatching a movie and rereading a book is definitely better than just trying to watch everything one time, because sometimes you won't catch certain things because you'll kind of be, really not understand what's being told to you or what you're being shown. But yeah, this is a really great book, and it's even better the second time. Wuthering Heights, and I haven't watched any movies of this yet, but once I get through it with the second time, I'm really looking forward to watching a movie or two of Wuthering Heights. So that's about it. I'm Peter the Book Lover. Like I said, please let me know what you think in the comments. If you're reading anything interesting and you want to tell somebody about it, let me know. Maybe I have read the same thing and we can connect about that book. This is my cat, Layla. You can't see her right now, but I love her very much. She says hi. And if you like the video, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel and come back and see my next video. Thank you so much. I am Peter the Book Lover. I love you for being here. Thank you so much. See you next time.